Hey everybody, welcome back. So here is the tutorial on how to turn a jumpsuit, if you have like coveralls or whatever, into like a shorter, cuter romper. As you can see, I am too tall for this, and I've tried to hide it with boots, but it's just getting too freaking hot. And just turning it into a romper seems like the best way to salvage this so I don't continue wearing high waters all over the place. So anyways, go ahead. I'm going to assume you're doing this by yourself without assistance. So that's how I'm going to approach this video. So put on your outfit or whatever you're doing to shorten it all the way. Have good posture when you do this. And to mark yourself, you can use, like a tailor's chalk or something. I like to use a safety pin because I can close it. If I take this off and start, manhandling it or whatever on my way back to my sewing room, I don't rub off the chalk. I just prefer the safety pins. So I want it about that short. And again, you want to have good posture. I already have, as you can see, I already have my safety pin open. So that way with the good posture, I was able to kind of just work it in there. So maybe like a smidge shorter. Let me see. Okay, I think right there for me is a good, it's right here if you could see it kind of glistening in the light. I think right there for me is a good length, shortness. So I'm going to close it up, take this off, and then let's go back to the sewing room and I'll show you how we measure it to put like the shorts in a cuff. Let's go. Okay, so I have it laying down flat. I have it aligned on itself towards the hem. So now I'm going to, and I hope you do too, measure the distance from the bottom of the original hem to where you marked where you want to cut, but don't cut yet. Don't do it because we need to add some extra inches because of the cuff and seam allowance that we're going to put in the cuff, how we're doing the pants. So just kind of measure it, and you want to kind of write that number down, then I'll go on. So here it is where my safety pin is. I'm at 22.5. Okay, so 22.5. I'm going to get my pencil and I am going to mark it. Please make sure that you use a regular pencil or something that you can wash off, like a tailor's chalk or one of those tailor's pencils from the fabric store. Don't use a pen. So I'm just gonna do that. So I know here is the line for 22.5. Okay, a little messy, but there it is. So I want my cuff to be, let's see. I think a big 2-inch cuff would be pretty cool for this. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add from the original line, I'm gonna add 5 inches. Why 5 inches? 2 inches is gonna be my cuff, 1/2 inch for the seam allowance, and then I'll show you when we do the cuff. When you turn it, I'll show you a little bit later, but I'll kind of give you a weird explanation of why there's still about 2.5 inches. So when you fold this up, you do not want to see the inside seams at all. You got to make it kind of camouflage incognito. So I'll show you right now. We're going to fold it inside out, fold it back on itself, make the cuff, and then when we've put it right side out, you're not going to see the inside seams popping out from your cuff. Like let's say, example, you make a cuff, you see this stuff, right? Well, I'm trying to avoid that. So basically you're gonna have an extra 2.5 inches like this, and then you're gonna do your 1.5 inches. So let me kind of just show you here. So let me just do a rough draft so you can understand exactly what I mean when I say. So let's say I have the 2.5 inches on the inside. I'm gonna fold back my cuff at this point an inch and a half, and see, the original seams are not there. It just looks smooth, like right side out, right? So that's what we're doing here. So again, if you're going to do a 2-inch cuff like I am, from the original marking line, I'm gonna add back 5 inches, and I'm gonna mark here, and that's going to be the actual cut line. And I like doing this on my healing mat because I can just kind of make myself straight here. I'm on the 21 line. And then I'm just gonna use my rotary cutter. Oh, please, when you do it, let me also just kind of share some info. Like a month or so back, I actually cut part of my finger off with this because I wasn't paying attention and I went too fast, and I hopped the ruler and it got my finger, and I thought I cut most of my finger off, but it was just a small portion. I probably blew it. It looked worse than what it was, you know what I mean? So when you're doing the rotary cutter, always please be paying attention. You're gonna have a good grip on it. You never wanna go backwards, because if you go backwards, you can come back on yourself. So always just give it good pressure, slow. A few rolls away from you, okay? Even if you have to do it a couple times, if it didn't cut, just keep doing it away from yourself at a medium pace, and please pay attention because it really, really hurt, and yeah, it's not good. So I'm gonna do that to the other leg, and then we will continue. So now that I have cut both of these off, I am not gonna throw these away because I am gonna offer a couple options, so that way you can have some cool decorations on your romper if you want to. I want to put like these on the shoulder, reusing these. It's like a military thing that I see a lot of military type biker jackets. They have this like loop thing right on top of the shoulder, and I have some pretty cool buttons, so I'm thinking I could reuse the pant leg that I cut off to make one of those little strap things for the top of my shoulder. So I'm gonna hold on to that. Or another thing you could do, my jumpsuit already had pockets on the breast, but you could certainly reuse the pieces that you cut off to make front and breast pockets, one or double on your pants, or add them to, like, if you want a back pocket. Now would be the time to figure out, how can I customize my jumpsuit using these leftover pieces that are, they're pretty big. I can add a pocket to the back, to the front, a little pocket on the sleeve. You could get kind of creative with it, put a flap on my pocket. Now I'm going to do this because I have a serger, okay? And I'm going to serge the circumference of each of the legs, just so that way it doesn't unravel or do anything. If you do not have a serger, you could most definitely do a zigzag stitch, or a lot of machines these days also have an overlock stitch, or quite a few overlock stitch settings on your machine, so you can also choose those. Usually they're indicated by the red diagrams on your machine. If not, definitely just look at your manual. So let me go ahead and serge these, and I'll be right back. And I'm just going over the edge. I'm not really cutting anything off or anything like that. Kind of show you what I was talking about with this inside out, folding it back upon itself thing. Let me go ahead and turn this inside out. do this first one. Always got to kind of make sure this is aligned or else things will not be even. So I added back 5 inches, so subtract 2 inches for the cuff, 1/2 inch for the seam allowance, half of 5 is 2.5. So I'm gonna fold back 2.5. So let's go ahead and fold back my 2.5. Okay, so, and I am gonna mark that with the pencil because again, I'm gonna need to see a visual guide so I can fold these back and it's even. So just place your ruler, oops, that was 3 inches, right on the edge, and then just make a bunch of lines so you can see. Here's 2.5, here's 2.5, and this, remember the ruler's right on the edge of the hem. 2.5. If you need to make yourself a solid line, I mean, whatever the visual, yeah. So you can see where my end goal is here. This is 2.5 inches and this is gonna be the fold. So I'm going to fold this back. I can kind of see where my, so you can even have done this too. You know, sometimes I kind of do it overkill. So this is 2.5. Okay. So now you want to get out your pins, or else it's gonna shift too much, especially with this material that I have. This jumpsuit is like a stretchy polyester, so it moves quite a bit. And then I'm just gonna keep going around, and I'm gonna pull this down, straighten it, and I'm just trying to make sure that this fold back that I'm doing is the 2.5. And when you do it, fold it right here where the seam is. Make sure you, when you pin it, you align up the seam with the inside seam of the pants. Okay, so it's 2.5. Let me pin it right here. So you're gonna do this all the way around on each leg. What are you doing? So here I am, already done. I did both sides. I kind of used, in some areas, more pins than usual. It's just the fabric. It's just this particular fabric of this jumper is just really, really stretchy and it shifts out of place. So let's go ahead and go to the machine. You're going to want to put in a thread, hopefully that is closest. If you want it really invisible and nice looking, I'm going to see what I have, because I don't think I have this particular color on hand, but that's okay because this is for me, it's not for somebody. So I'm just making do with what I got. So let's go. So now I have switched over to a zigzag stitch, and I just wanted to make you aware I am switching to a zigzag stitch because my fabric is super stretchy, and when you have super stretchy fabric, you need the accordion style of that zigzag stitch to, you know, pull and push and not pop the threads that you've made with the machine. But if you're using a all cotton romper that has no stretch in it, you can definitely just use a straight stitch. That would be great. So I have it all pinned out, right? We know that I already pinned this back 2.5 inches. I have everything pinned. So right on the edge of our cuff on the inside here, I'm going to stay within my serging lines, or if you didn't do a serging line, you have just a regular machine with your overlock stitch setting, just follow that edge. I know you can see it, okay? Because we definitely don't want this line to be seen on the outside when we wear it. It's just holding the cuff all the folding in place, but it's not meant to be seen. So we're gonna keep this hidden. I'm going to finish the other leg up off camera. So go ahead and do that and I will be right back with you. All right, now I've sewn it at the edge of the hem where we cut and serged or overlocked. So now let's just turn this inside out, or right side out, excuse me. Right side out. This is one leg. So this is what it's gonna look like on the outside, right? You're gonna see the zigzag stitching or whatever on the outside. Now I'm gonna fold back my cuff. This is gonna be pretty much the end of the road here. I am going to continue on this video. If you'd like to see how I make those little strap things for the shoulder, I'll go over that right after the cuffs, but if not, you can end right after we finish here with the cuffs, if that's all you came for in this video. So, all these. So I'm gonna fold this back. And again, I don't wanna fold and include the serging. We don't want to see that on the outside. So I'm just gonna fold this back, and then I'm gonna fold this back, and then I'm just going to confirm my cuff of 2 inches. Boom, there you go. And if you like these little clear rulers, these are usually used for quilting. I like them for fashion too, because you can see like what you're doing exactly. A little more. 2 inches, perfect. And I want to just keep doing this all around on both sides of the leg. And see how when I turn the cuff back up, you don't see the serging that was originally on the pants. It's camouflage. So that's what we want. So let's go ahead and do that whole step, and then we'll do the last bit of sewing and some pressing to complete the tutorial on the cuff pants. So check it out. I did this one side of the leg off camera by myself. So let me just kind of go over the innards of how you do this last part. There is going to be, now I would suggest you do this part by hand, but if you do have thread that is exactly this, you can go over it with a very tiny back stitch on the edge of your cuff and then attach it to the actual suit. A very tiny straight back stitch to hide it. But I did this part by hand because like I was saying earlier, I don't have matching thread. So what I did was I came in from underneath with just a regular needle and thread, and I did like an invisible stitch. So I came in through the inside of the leg, come over, I popped out, but I didn't come all the way through both layers. I only did it, and I could see it when I'm doing it. Let me try and just kind of, I didn't come out like this. What I did was that once I knew I was in, I kind of felt my way with the needle, and I knew that I could come over and pierce it, and I went through both layers, but you do not see it from the top, and it is attached here. And I did that, as you can see, just for a couple messy stitches, and it's just to tack it down. Otherwise, if you don't do this, and I did this in the middle between let me show you. In the middle between both side seams, I did one here, and then I did one on the other side like that. And you can't really see the stitching, it's invisible for the most part. And then when I came to the side, I did switch back to my machine, but again, if you just want to keep it up with the hand sewing, you can. So I came in straight stitch, and what I did is it's something called stitch in the ditch, which is where I'm sewing it down, right? But I'm following the exact same seam line to hide my stitch. I don't even know if you could see it. It's in there. You can kind of see the light beige thread, but it's real hard to notice it. It's not that noticeable. So I kind of just retrace the steps of the original stitch here so you don't see it, and I did a long one. So it started from about right here, and then I did all the way up, back stitched, and then I did the same thing on this other leg. Started from about right here, and then went up here, back stitch. And then afterwards, that, as you can see, I did press it on like the polyester steam setting of my iron with a press cloth over it. And again, just because of the nature of the fabric, I could burn it, which it gives off that really ugly shine. That's when you like burn shine it. So I put a press cloth over it, steamed it, flattened it, and so that's how the one side looks. Now I'm gonna go back over here, and I will show you how I was doing it by hand, rather than just telling you, you know, on this side. I have my needle and thread. Now, I kind of want to just eyeball the middle. For me is about like right here. So I'm going to come out from, see how I came out? Can you see it? Can you even see it? Where am I? Oh, see how I came out through here? Now I'm not gonna go over it so you can see it, but I do want you to see I did pierce through it. So I'm gonna kind of reverse a little bit just so you don't see it. But my needle, goodness, this camera. But my needle, see how my needle is still in there? You can kind of see it, like peekaboo, like that. But I'm going sideways, and I can feel it that it's still in this channel. And if you're not sure, you can always do a little peekaboo again. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm still in here. Then I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to push it through like this, okay? And again, for this part, you don't, I mean, you could if you wanted to do like the whole entire leg, but you don't need to do that. You just need to do one in the middle, one in the back, besides this, I mean, apart from the side seams, just to hold it down, because you don't want this thing like flopping forward, and it looks nasty. Like make it look nice, you know what I mean? So here I am on the inside, and I'm just gonna go like a small back stitch in between here. I'm gonna go right through, and I'm gonna push it. Again, here's where I am. I'm gonna switch hands, and I'm gonna pull this back, but I'm still in the in-between layer, as you can see here. I'm just gonna pull it back out. I know I have the layer, I can feel it with my ring finger on my right hand, and I'm pushing it, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. Going to grab it. Pull, pull, pull. Kind of do that. I think this will be my last stitch. I can still feel it. It's inside the cuff. And I'm gonna fold it and push. And then right here, I'm gonna finish it off. Oop, I didn't even pull it all the way, look at that. All right. Just kind of make sure that all your stitches are flat, at least, you know what I mean? Like there's no bubbling like you saw right now. I just pulled it through. Then I'm only gonna grab some threads from the inside. I don't know if you can see, I only grabbed, I don't know if you can even see with this camera. Can you see I just grabbed threads right there? You cannot see it from the other side. It's only grabbing the threads of the pant leg on the inside. So now I just grabbed a few threads. I'm gonna pull it all the way through. Before I put it all the way through, I'm going to put this underneath the loop and I'm gonna pull it. You see what I did there? Then I'm gonna cut it now. Leave a good enough tail so that way you can have enough slack to make a knot and you're not trying to pinch half an inch's worth of thread to make a knot that's like really, really hard. Just make it easy for yourself. It's just tight like that. My scissors. And again, just like that. It doesn't have to be all the way around. It's just so that way when you're walking it, this doesn't flop forward, you know what I mean? So like here it's tacked down. I'm gonna take out some of these pins that I don't need that were in the front. I'm gonna repeat this in the back, somewhere in the middle, and then after we do that, then I'll take you to the machine how we do that stitch in the ditch technique, okay? Awesome. So now I have my machine in a straight stitch. I got it like medium width. It's not too big or small, it's just kind of in the middle. Let me position my cuff here so that way we can sew. All right, so right now, where I have, and let me see if I can point this out with like a needle or something because it's such a small space and I don't have a good camera. So you see how I call these two little things like the knuckles? And then there's like the space in between here. So I'm gonna try, and this space here needs to be aligned with the stitch that's already there, right? And I'm going to retrace the steps so that way you cannot see my light colored stitches. You don't see another stitch line. It makes it look cleaner. So, okay, so right now I'm in the middle. Move this foot. I'm in the middle. And I'm just going to try and sometimes if it gets stuck after a few stitches, what I'm doing here, it's already detached from the machine. So I'm just kind of helping the fabric. And I'm just trying to get right in the middle so you cannot see my handiwork, you know what I mean? Make that invisible. I'll come back. And I did a little back stitch right there. I don't know if you noticed. Okay, so see, you can't really see my stitch work. Maybe a little bit like right there, you can kind of see it, but for the most part, it's hidden within that pre-existing seam. Okay, so now I'm gonna do that to the other side. And then we're gonna blast it with some heat. Do, do, do. Let me just kind of reposition this pin because it was kind of in my way right now. So again, I'm trying to align that target area, the little knuckles as I call them. I have no formal training, so this is just, let me call these parts what I call them. When my needle comes down, it's striking right in the middle. Sometimes it gets stuck, I don't know why. So right now I just have my press cloth over the cuff. I'm gonna just hit it with some steam, a little bit of pressure. Okay, see, that looks real nice. So I'm gonna go around and finish that up, and then that'll be the end of this tutorial. If you wanna continue and watch how I make the little shoulder strap things to go with that military biker motorcycle jacket style, just keep on watching. Thanks. All right, so here's the part where we work on the little strap things. I don't even know what they're called, but I know what I like, and I like these things on my shoulders. So if you want to go ahead and do this, go ahead and bring back in your romper, and we just want to measure the space between the sleeve and the collar. Okay, so we got this area right here. So in my case, this area is about, it's 6 inches, not about, I'm sorry. So 6 inches. So let's make the little things to go on my shoulders, let's make them 4.5 inches, but we're gonna cut 5 inches in length, and we're gonna have 1/4 of a seam allowance added in there. And that'll cover each side. And then as far as the thickness goes, and again, this is not something I have a pattern of. I'm just eyeballing it to see what works good with what I have for the moment. And let's have it 1.5 inches thick, 1/4 inch seam allowance, so cut to width. So it's going to be 5 inches in length, 2 inches in width. Now I already cut off the side seams from the pant leg that we chopped off earlier, and then I also have, so I have 2 layers of this, and I have 2 layers of very light interfacing. I just don't, because of the stretchy nature of this fabric, I don't want these little things to stretch out of place and then they have this like ripple effect after they've been stretched out so much. It'll look weird. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, like when things get stretched out of place and then they're too long for what they're sewn to, it gives off this weird ripple effect, and that's just because they're longer now because they've been stretched out. So this is to try and mitigate that problem from happening in the future. So I do have 2 layers of very light interfacing, and then the 2 layers of my pants. I am going to use a rotary cutter. In this case, you don't have to. You can always just use a ruler and your pencil and then make all the lines and cut it yourself. So I'm going to cut 2 cuts, so four in total, right? So let me try and just square this off in the meantime. All right, so that's all squared off now. This looks lovely. So we can start cutting from this way and work our way forward. So we're going to, remember, have it 5 inches in length and 2 in width. So let's see, how long is this? All right, we're good here. So let's do 2. So it's an 18 line. Don't move it. If you're doing it in this manner, don't move it yet, because then we're going to come across and shorten it a little bit. In my case, because it is longer than 5 inches in length, so on the 16. Okay, so, and again, why I love cutting on the grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna cut on, what is this, the 11 line? There we go. So now I got my 2 pieces. I can save this for something else. It's still good scraps. So let's take this to the ironing board and let's iron the interfacing on all 4 pieces. So I have fused the interfacing to the pieces off camera. I'm assuming you know a little bit about sewing at this point, or while doing this video, just to speed things along a little bit. So I went ahead to show you a little example. So here I have the 2 pieces. I haven't put them on top yet. So you would go right sides together. And then when you sew it like I did here, I recommend that you have the gap to turn it inside out in the middle. It's really hard to close it off when it's in the corner. It just doesn't want to behave, you know what I mean? So do it like I did here so you can have just a really easy time closing it off. Then once you sew it, so that way you have nice 90-degree corners when you turn it inside out and press it. Right, you see right where the intersection is of these threads, you're gonna clip the corners. Now notice, if you can see, let me try and, I did not cross, like cut into contact with the threads. I came really close to it. You don't want to cut into the intersection of the threads, because then when you turn it inside out, you'll have a little hole. So you want to just keep it as close to the intersection as possible, but not actually touching them. You're going to do that on all sides. And then also, if you feel like it looks too thick for you, just trim it a little bit. Less bulk for when you turn it inside out. And then we are going to top stitch it closed, or not close it, but you will have to top stitch it to close this part, the gap, when you turn it inside out, and then it'll look nicer. So I'm going to turn it inside out now. You can use like a chopstick or a pencil, and I do have a chopstick. I broke this off from a giant s'mores stick that I got at Walmart. You buy those in the camping section. They're like almost a yard long, I think. Maybe they're like 30 inches. I'm just gonna poke out the corners. Okay, so I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna do that to this one also. Then right now, once I have them all turned inside out, I'm going to press them flat and then I'm going to top stitch close to the edge all the way around to tack them down, and then we can start the process of attaching them to the shoulders of our romper. All right, so I have it positioned on my shoulders. Let me kind of just show you how I'm doing it. So from the collar, this is the collar right here, I went in 1 inch and I folded the edges just a little bit and I pinned it down. Then on this side, I'm not gonna fold it down, I'm just gonna have it flat. I'm not gonna do a real buttonhole. I'm just going to sew the button on top of it to tack it down. And I did have in my button supply, I had some cute looking, like military looking buttons. So I mean, it was just right up my alley. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll be done. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I'm sorry it was a little long, I do admit, but I feel it's needed because I needed to show you all the steps in order to achieve this look. If you have any questions about any of the stuff I did here or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again so much for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Laters.